Welcome back to the Tales of TIC. Today we have a very, very special guest joining us, Paul Hesselink. So Paul is a proper industry executive. Most notably, Paul was actually the CEO of Kiwa for 20 years, along with many other experiences before that time. So I won't go into too much detail because I know Paul's going to give us a breakdown, but just thank you so much for coming on.
My pleasure, Thomas. My pleasure. Fire your questions and I'll try to answer them properly.
Very good. So the first question of the podcast, please can you go back in time and are you able to give us an understanding of your life and how you got here today?
I can. I'm Dutch, Paul Hesselink. I'm Dutch, born and raised on the countryside in the Netherlands, the eldest of four brothers. My father stems from a teacher's family, and my mother was a very vivid, energetic farmer's daughter. That is how I grew up without any big troubles or anything special. I started studying. I had to choose between history, business economics, and something that was more useful, probably. And in those years, the 80s, a lot of unemployment, and I was told the only way to make your living was doing something like engineering or study some technological stuff. And I chose chemistry, specialized in biochemistry for my master's degree. And then I discovered biotechnology, a new science in that period. I decided to go for a PhD in biotechnology, pharmaceutical production methods different from the chemical ones that were in use. Got my degree, and I liked the research and engineering I had been doing for 4 years at the university. So I changed to TNO, which is a big contract research organization, and specialized further in doing research, developing, making inventions, so to say, to produce a biological, biochemical, biotechnological alternatives for chemical production of pharmaceuticals, fine chemicals, and what have you. Also cleaning up the environment or preventing contaminants to be produced as part of any production process. That was fun, but I discovered that meanwhile I had been acting more as a manager than standing at the lab bench myself. And then SGS tapped on my shoulder if I was willing to change ship and become the leader of their laboratories in the Netherlands and leading an inspection division. So that was my introduction, my onboarding in the TIC sector. And it was great fun, I must say. I climbed the ranks again, becoming more of a manager than of a specialist myself. Ended up as the national chief executive of the Netherlands after a few years and was with SGS for 8 years. When SGS noticed the importance of cost cutting as the margins had gone down considerably in the early 2000s, I decided I had done my cost cutting and I'm more of a growth and expansion manager. And happily, Kiwa was looking for a new CEO, and I joined it in 2003 and stayed there forever after until my semi retirement in 2024, 1.5 years ago. In that period, Kiwa developed from a small TIC, TIC institute, a part of the Dutch drinking water utilities, and my task was to develop into a more professional service organization. And meanwhile, we noticed we were too small to survive autonomously, independently. So we started growing and expanding, adding services to our portfolio, opening up offices in other countries, and making some 75 acquisitions. Sounds like a lot, but we had 20 years in order to do it. So plenty of time, and the speed was fairly high, but not too high. And 1.5 years ago, I passed the CEO-ship, the baton, if you want, to my good colleague Luc Leroy, the COO in those days, and he's been the CEO of Kiwa for 18 months now. And I changed into advisory roles, board whispering roles, both for private equity as well as for companies who want to buy and build and grow fast and develop their span. So that is my career in short, a happy period, and was joyful to be part of it.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. The second question, Paul, is could you share any pivotal moments or experiences that shaped your professional journey in the field?
I can, but there were not that many pivotal moments like lightning bolts flashing myself into another direction.
Yeah,
It was merely pivotal phases, discovering that I studied science and was not a real scientist. I was more interested in not the next decimal in some uh, chemical process, but merely in application, the science that was there, the knowledge that was there. So I found myself turning from a scientist into research and development in engineering application. When doing that, I found out that I was more of a manager than of a specialist myself. I like the science, I like the knowledge, the know-how, but
yeah,
I started running projects, running departments, business units, became a manager of an institute, and that is what I like more. So satisfying stakeholders, both the researchers as well as the shareholders, the customers, etc., etc. Doing that, I found out I was not that much interested in the last bit of cost shaving and maximizing the margins. I was rather a growth manager,
yeah.
expansion, innovation, developing new things, adding new services. So I guess that was the framework of my career, from science to application to management to growth and expansion. Not a pivotal moment, more a pivotal series of pivotal phases. Yep.
Well, I think that perfectly leads on to the next question, which you've alluded to there. You're the growth guy. You probably focus a little bit less on the efficiency piece. But my next question is specifically on that. So, what strategies or methodologies do you employ to drive efficiency and productivity within the operations?
Most of my life was in professional services, if I summarize. So working with professional means that most of the other people are brighter than you are, know more than you are,
Sure.
have more experience than you have. So
Yeah.
rather than having methodologies, I consider myself more as a preacher. I was standing on the soapbox and telling all these bright and intelligent people that if they want to have a salary at the end of the month, it was good to be efficient and make some margin, not the maximum margin, but an optimal margin, as I called it, in
Hmm.
order to pay the salaries, develop and invest in new activities, and expand the company that we were working for. So rather guiding them, teaching them, brainwashing them to be effective and efficient first time right, work smarter, not harder, all these things. And these people, professionals, are not that interested in the last bit of margin and all these KPIs that are so popular today. So I decided the most important KPIs are customer satisfaction, employee satisfaction,
Yeah.
growth, revenue growth, and having the margin that you thought you would be needing in your budget. So that was all preaching more than applying all these methodologies from the manager's handbook.
Yeah, very good. There's lots of things you can measure, but yeah, it all falls into customer satisfaction and how happy your people are, right? I've just taken a
Yeah,
note there. I think that's absolutely spot on.
people are key if you're working with professionals. It's not you, it's the others that matter.
100%. Very good. So, on that point, we're talking people. We're a recruitment company. How has the role of talent acquisition evolved over the past decade? Past decade.
It certainly evolved. Within Kiwa, let's stick to that one. When I started, there were many professionals available, so you could pick and choose the ones
Right.
that you liked most and had the more or less the same mentality, state
Mm,
of mind that you had. And we tried to promote people from their first job, the shop floor usually, to becoming a project manager, team leader, business unit leader. And I think 80% of the business unit leaders we had at Kiwa were self-grown, self-developed, and we attracted only 20%. For the highest ranks, we were sure that we needed some fresh blood and new insights as well, and that is where talent acquisition came in. Usually not the youngsters, but the ones who had already the second or the third job, had some experience, And over time, we used recruiters more and more, intermediates. So, of course, we grew. Half of our top managers were still homebred, but the other half was merely coming in from the outside. And clearly, social media, LinkedIn, and not TikTok yet, in the tech industry, but all these social media helped you finding your people in a much more easier way, and the likes of Evertix also helped a lot. So yes, from finding in your own network to going more external is clearly a development we've seen and
I
like.
just I just wondered, our view of the industry is that, there's in terms of leadership, general management roles, business unit leadership roles, most of the time, the people that are doing those jobs have come from the bench. They're lab people, they're technical. But often, as you're aware,
Yeah, yeah,
they'll have gaps, right?
yeah,
Personality style,
yeah.
leadership style. So I can imagine, just in line with your leadership style, this culture, people, behaviors, thought processes. I can imagine you probably, through your leadership style, were able to influence and support them from a people standpoint, which is often the gap in technical people running P&Ls, to
Sure,
be honest.
sure, sure. No, we made sure that the people we selected for a next career step had these communication skills, their personal building personal relationships, being able to act and talk with customers, because in the end they pay your salaries.
Yeah,
And we had a lot of training courses. We made sure that people picked up, developed themselves externally. So a lot of people development, talent development, internal and external, we had. And then we notice it's important that your company has a good reputation. So getting people in is one thing, but not losing them, keeping them. A
yeah,
low employee churn is important as well. So the
yeah,
company reputation, the company culture matters a lot, and we paid a lot of attention to that. So these soft sides of technical people were important to us, and we hired people preaching that gospel as well, and educating our own young talents and already management style people, to develop them further. Never a dull moment. Keep moving. Don't become complacent. I think that's important.
I think
Yep.
that's so refreshing to focus on. Yeah, attract A players, but how do we keep them, attract and retain?
Yep.
I think as the industry gets more competitive, leaders are that's becoming more
Yep.
obvious to them because
Yep.
they can't replace in those blind spots. But you're obviously ahead of the field there, with your mindset, because I think in some companies and leaders that's probably a gap. How do we keep people
I,
engaged?
I, I think it was. We found it relatively easy. We didn't have to approach people from colleagues, competitors. Many offered themselves, so to say,
Yeah,
via intermediates or directly. And they liked the culture, the way of working, the degrees of freedom you had within Kiwa. So we
yeah,
found it relatively easy to convince people to join us. And over time, that was building up in 20 years. We really, I think, earned a good place under the sun when attracting talent. Of course, the specialists are always scarce, but
yes,
in essence, we were not dissatisfied with the number of people coming in. And a growing company helps a lot, of course. If your company is shrinking,
yeah,
it's
yeah,
much more it's much
yeah.
more difficult to convince people that this is the place to be. But we
For
were
sure.
growing. Yeah, we were growing. Yeah, yeah.
Nice. Well, maybe duplicate a question, but you know, where do you think the most significant challenges are? And if you've answered, don't worry, we can move on.
Um, Selecting the crucial ones that make a difference. And of course, every company is looking for the people that make a difference. But within Kiwa, you should like a lot of autonomy, taking your decisions yourself. Uh,
Yeah,
be your own backup, as it is. You're not alone. You're part of a team, of course, but that
yeah,
is important. And we always encourage intermediates, and individuals that approach it themselves. Okay, how much liberty do you like? You get the responsibilities, but we expect you to perform as well. Yeah.
mhm.
So
Yeah,
far, we're working. Yeah, yeah,
that's refreshing. And honestly, when you look at the industry, each company has a totally different philosophy.
sure.
There are
Yeah,
companies that are
yeah,
decentralized, local decision making, but all the accountability. There are
yeah.
others that are pretty centralized, but you still have all the
Yeah.
accountability. There's others that are freedom, responsibility, like you. So there's
Yeah,
different
fully true.
propositions.
We are very decentralized. Of
Yeah,
course, we have a framework of methods and procedures you should follow. We have a few rules of the game internally, but basically building, expanding your own business, uh,
yeah.
as if it was your own little company, that matters most. So people who like that, most welcome. Yeah.
Nice, very good. Just on the same vein, I guess employer branding. How important do you think that is in attracting the best talent?
Crucial, crucial.
Yeah,
The tech world is a competitive world. Everyone needs more or less similar expertise, similar auditors, similar test engineers,
yeah,
similar inspectors. So your reputation matters a lot, and we plea ourselves that it seems to be a good reputation that we have been building over the years. So
yeah,
again, don't think profit is the only thing that matters. It's the community that you build. It sounds a bit mellow, but it
yeah,
really is the community, people working together and being happy that they work for the company. If the company is loyal to you, you should be loyal to your company, and that mutual recognition is there. Yeah.
yeah. Very good. So, just broadly, then, can you provide an overview of your company's history and how it's evolved over time?
Yeah. Well, Kiwa was established by the Dutch drinking water utility straight after in 1948, straight after the World War, Second World War, in
Wow.
order to re-establish good drinking water quality in the
Right.
Netherlands. So
Ah,
it was a utility institute, and when I started in 2003, it was still an institute in the hands of the utilities, and that we changed to turning it into a more business driven, customer oriented organization coming from SGS, which was a listed company,
mm,
still is. I realized that your customers pay your salaries and not the quality of your technology.
mm,
That is essential to deliver a good service, but that's not the only thing. So we changed the mentality to be more business driven, that we wanted some margin profit in order to develop ourselves and started expanding our portfolio from drinking water and a little bit of building construction into all kinds of TIC areas that you can see at the website nowadays. Doing that, we increased our cash flow so we could buy a few companies, go international, and over time, Kiwa expanded from a 200 staff Dutch entity into a 40 countries, 12,000 staff, versatile tech company. Without arrogance, we think we are one of the leaders nowadays, a global player,
yeah,
and that was a great journey, a great voyage with all of the colleagues, adding on more and more companies, adding more and more activities. So that is the history of Kiwa in short. Again, 75 acquisitions that were not really integrated but converged into the Kiwa philosophy
mm,
without too many trouble. And that is the story of Kiwa. So from a local, not ugly duck, but a little ducklet into a big swan, probably floating
yeah.
around at the global seas of TIC. Yeah.
Fantastic. And you've alluded to stepping down and passing the baton. But what is your current role within the business and your responsibilities?
I am more now an independent advisor or consultant, if you could
Yeah,
call it that way. I left the Kiwa payroll 18 months ago, still help them with some acquisitions, some strategy setting and orientation. But more and more, I'm active as a board member or a chairman of companies that want to expand rapidly, always in the professional services, whether it is software engineering, whether it is installation and maintenance and fire safety or accountancy. These are my roles nowadays, and I must say I enjoy them. I
yeah,
bought an old farmhouse, so my hands are filled with blisters now of reshaping that thing and doing the garden. harvested potatoes yesterday. So many aspects of other lives come into play now. But in essence, I'm a semi-retired experienced manager. Yeah.
And well deserved. The final question is, if you could go back in time and give your 21-year-old self advice, what would that be?
Oh, well, to a large extent, I think it's a film, a quote, "Play it again, Sam." I'm pretty happy with what I did.
Nice.
Of course,
Yeah.
I was not perfect when I started, far from, probably a bit nerdy, a bit pushy.
Mm.
Um, uh, I hope that has become less. Not too many people. I didn't create too much enemies, I think. Made sure that I was a team player, and of course I was a pushy team player from time to time. But I learned a lot from many people, and it was a happy voyage doing that all. Yeah, as a motto, remain confident, remain friendly, and work hard. So not too many changes from my 20-year-old, being a little bit more patient, but yeah, create your happy life and a happy environment. Expand your horizons, expand your
Yeah.
company horizons. That's more or less it. Stay curious. Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you so much for coming on, Paul. It's been an absolute pleasure, action packed. I've got loads of notes to come back to, but yeah, just appreciate you supporting the podcast and sharing your wisdom to our audience.
My pleasure. I hope it is some wisdom. Maybe you're flattering too much now, but it was a pleasure doing so, and I wish you and Avitix all the best for the future as well. And who knows, our path will cross one day
Yeah,
again.
amazing. Thank you so much, Paul.
Bye, Thomas. Thank you.